Hello. Thank you for tuning into today's online concert. My name is Joe Bricker.
I'm Hannah Christiansen.
And we are Civic Fellows with the Civic Orchestra of Chicago. And today you will hear our program entitled Chicago from Scratch, which features 5 world premieres by 5 students of the Chicago Musical Pathways Initiative.
For the past 10 weeks, these 5 students have worked with us exploring contemporary performance and compositional techniques in order to create the works that you're about to hear.
Throughout the entire process, these students have served as the creative directors, whether it be formulating their ideas, whether it be notating their ideas, arranging their ideas, transcribing their ideas from other media, in the rehearsal process, sending feedback and via recordings, and in the actual recording studio where they were in the sound booth with our engineer, directing the session. The students created these pieces entirely from scratch, and they're really their own. And so what you'll hear tonight is really these students' pieces in these students' minds and these students' creative sensibilities put onto the stage and onto the page.
This project was sponsored by the Nagani Music Institute of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra in partnership with Guarneri Hall and Chicago Musical Pathways Initiative.
Thank you very much. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, my name is Sophia Luong. I'm 16 years old and I'm a percussionist, and I wrote March 2020 for violin and percussion. So I wrote this piece to express how I felt as a student during quarantine. And so with this piece, there's 5 main sections that I felt accurately portrayed how, or the feelings that I went through. And so the first beginning section, you'll hear electronics of Governor J.B. Pritzker announcing that there's a stay-at-home order, and the end date keeps changing, and then it'll slow down and we get into this glockenspiel theme. And so with this section, it's supposed to be more laid back and relaxed, because that's essentially how I felt in the beginning. I know me as well as a lot of my peers, we essentially took this stay-at-home order as an extended spring break. And so we were just chilling and playing video games and all that cool stuff. That quickly changes, and we change into this more intense section that is meant to represent the craziness of quarantine, like the empty shelves and no toilet paper. But also it's supposed to symbolize the Black Lives Matter movement and the protests. And you can really hear that towards the end, how the marimba and the violin play off each other with these runs. And yeah, after that, what's the next section? We go into the Zoom, the theme that I like to call the Zoom theme, which is meant to show the more work, school life. And so we start off with this ding dong, which is the ding dong that you hear when you first go into a Zoom meeting. And then you'll hear typing in the background to reinforce this theme of online work and just it being really boring. And then we go into the 4th section, which is meant to be more expressive. And it's more so to express the feelings of sadness and grief, because COVID has taken a lot of lives. And that sadness turns into more anger. And you're more so the anger that's supposed to symbolize is you don't know why this is happening, so you're just mad. And then we move into the last theme, which is more hopeful, because this isn't forever. So yeah, that's basically the piece. And to the listeners out there, I hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I enjoyed creating it. The listener, at the end of this piece, I hope you feel less alone, and that you're not alone, and that other people have these negative feelings during quarantine too.
Starting tomorrow evening, Saturday, March 21st at 5 p.m. until the end of April 7th, to extend Illinois' stay-at-home order through the end of the month of April, through Saturday, May 30th. Be subject to a stay-at-home.
Hey, I think you're muted.
Greetings, my name is Malik Muhammad. I've been playing violin for 5 years, and this is my song, Softly Blue, Sparse, Suddenly Gray. I wrote the piece about a month ago in the composition program that I got from CMPI. The piece is basically about, in the first part, somebody is like home and at peace, and in the middle part, kind of chaos. So that's why the percussion got louder, especially with the drums, and you heard less chimes. And at the ending, it's kind of just a repeat of the first part where they finally found home or a substitute home. The first thing we did when I was writing the piece, I kind of drafted notes, but after that, I kind of listened to the different percussion sounds that I liked that I felt could really match kind of the mood of the piece, and then went from there. After I chose the percussion, then I got the basic like chorus of the piece and then just kind of added on from there. When the audience is listening to the piece, I want them to try and find the chaos in the middle of the piece with the chaotic percussion. When I wrote Explore Slowly, I kind of gave the violinist kind of freedom to like make up the notes for that part, just kind of so it matched, just making sure it matched the mood of the actual song.
I'm Nazeeh, and this is Solitude for solo violin, and the piece was written in the spring of 2021, and it's still in progress. So it's more, capturing the feeling of being inside your head and feeling alone, but not necessarily in a bad way, with other people during the majority of the piece. My favorite parts in there were they kind of they came to me, I guess, just randomly out of nowhere. So, yeah. Okay, so some of these melodies were put together, kind of binding the ones that I actually came up with that I enjoyed. So I kind of connected the ones that I really liked, and basically the rest of it is kind of a bridge to the next one. So.
Hi, my name is Noëlle Streuber-Eden. I am 12 years old and I live in Valparaiso, Indiana. I've been playing violin for 8.5 years now. You're going to be listening to my composition called Wired Chocolate. I came up with the title of my piece because my mom and I went to a French pastry shop downtown where we live, and I got this one amazing chocolate mousse tart, and when I had a bite of that, I felt really wired up, and in the meantime, I was thinking of a title for my piece, and I was starting to get the piece into my head, and then the name just Wired Chocolate just came into my mind because that chocolate mousse tart made me feel really wired up, and that's what inspired me to write this piece. I came up with the theme for my piece I was walking downtown, and I remember I was hearing a bird, and it was singing dun dun dun, and I really liked that tune, and that's actually the first measure of my piece, and then I turned that into the first measure of my piece, and then I developed it even more, and now that's the theme of my piece. Throughout the piece, there was always a secret hidden melody underneath the percussion, and if you listen closely to the chords in the violin, you can also hear a melody on the top, and in one of the variations, you can hear the percussion kind of supporting the melody in the violin.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm 16 years old. I'm a percussionist, and the piece we're going to listen to is Untitled, written for violin and vibraphone. I really like jazz and mostly like the postmodern jazz where it's usually complex, like the older jazz. Even though bebop is mostly complex with its dense harmony, when you get to more of the postmodern stuff, with Wayne Shorter and even more contemporary people like Ben Wendell and Aaron Parks, they use more chords or more modal stuff that you can't define, and they're mostly influenced by, or this piece was mostly influenced by like chordal stuff and McCoy Tyner, the way he uses stacking fourths as chords, almost makes it like you can't define it, and there's a theory term for it called a chordioid, which is kind of like a fragmented chord, which is something that you can't define, like its third and seventh is the quality of the chord. But when you use stuff like suspendeds or fourths, those are chords that usually don't know how to place it. And that's what I was really fascinated about. And that's why I built this whole piece on, was just those specific chords. I wanted to find chords that like you couldn't really put like, oh, that's a major or that's a minor. It's usually that it's its own kind of sound, its own kind of like it's glop or something. I just put it on there. So yeah. So the opening texture, I got inspired by John Adams or minimalism, which is basically a repeated pattern that's used over and over. In John Adams' piece, The Chairman Dances, it has a little technique where it kind of sounds like the woodwind players like kind of imitate a vibraphone almost. Like how a vibraphone works is like you hit it and then it's a sharp noise and then it slowly decays, and that was the texture that I wanted to get from the violin, and also that repeated pattern that the vibraphone's playing. That's a common thing with all minimalism, is that you use a specific pattern and then you repeat it, and then most of that it changes, the chord quality changes so it can transition better. And then in the middle section, first of all, this piece was written on a piano, so I didn't have like a lot of like all these arranging ideas. It's just mostly just here's a chord, and I didn't feel like arranging it in such like a complex way would kind of ruin it, because since the piece is already weird itself, so I think just kind of guiding the listener with just chords, I think kind of helps a lot, even though like most like people who are beginning in music will be like, what the hell is this? I don't know what this is. But that's how I thought about it. So. I guess don't listen to it as like, don't listen to it like you're supposed to know where it begins and where it ends. Just listen, just kind of, I guess just kind of listen to it as kind of one big space of stuff that I'm just throwing at you, but not just like a very violent, here's that, but like this very big empty space of just these sounds, and then like at the end, it just kind of ends on this chord, and then it's nothing or something. So don't expect like something out of like you hear from Jennifer Higdon or like John Adams, where you first hear it and then oh, I know what this piece is going to sound like. This is not that.